So there I was, having a little tubby after I did my rebounder, and I was listening to Mike from CarnOMAD talking about gaining a little weight while we're all quarantined and what's that like. And he was talking about my chop wood, carry water, CW, CW. Now, I'm a CW girl. I love my country music, and I've only lived up here, and I was country before country was cool. So that's one of the reasons I love chop wood and carry water. And it's kind of like sometimes I have an elastic around my wrist. I've remember one time I broke up with this guy and I couldn't stop thinking about him, couldn't stop thinking about him, rather sad. And so I had an elastic. And so I remember I was working for the housing authority and I kept snapping the elastic against my wrist to remind me not to think about him, and all I did was go home with a bloody wrist. So you can see how successful I am with obsessions. But anyway, he was talking about my ways of dealing with, well, in essence, how not to gain weight, or try not to gain weight, the tricks that I use. But anyway, it was just kind of funny to listen to him, and he hurt my feelings so much because I may not know much about punters and tight ends and running backs and all that kind of stuff. I only started listening to sports radio a couple of months ago. Give me a break. But anyway, Tom with the Jaguars was my guy. I had like a probably 10-year crush on the guy because he was a coach up here in Boston for a college for a number of years. And I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why we have crushes. I had a crush on George Brett. I had a crush on Bernie somebody. He played first base for the Red Sox, I'm sure Mike will think of it. But anyway, this is probably not as much to do with Carnivore as just kind of having a conversation with Mike from CarnOMAD. So if you're not interested in just, me babbling on, you can tune out. You won't miss anything poignant. Poignant, and that's not a G word. But anyway, yeah, so I love my Tom when he was with the Jaguars, and you said as soon as they got rid of him, what? What? See, I'm not a big, into the past as much as I'd like to be. But I can tell you just about everything you need to know about Tom Brady because of him leaving. And for 2 months, that's all sports radio has been about when it hasn't been about the virus. But in my eating disordered overeater, compulsive overeater was how I described myself in Overeaters Anonymous. And I would clean my plate, no matter how much you gave me, no matter how big the plate. It was there. It was going to be eaten. As far as a binger goes, I've had a few of them in my life, but so I know the feeling of like can't freaking stop. But my compulsive overeating was definitely part of the same, except it was pretty much contained in a bowl, on a plate, something like that. And I know that I couldn't stop while there was still stuff in the bowl, in the plate. And when I used to binge overeat bowls of like uncooked cookie dough, Toll House cookie dough, or vats of ice cream. And that's funny with the banana. I would develop a taste for the banana ice cream, Mike. That was my eating disorder. That's my Ms. Slick. It's like, oh, maybe this won't be so bad. Of course, I would add things to it to totally just keep the texture of the ice cream, but diminish the taste of the banana. Enter chocolate. Yeah. So as far as chop wood, carry water, I guess I use that more now while I'm homebound for the entire day. What used to be guilty pleasure time, when I'd stop my Ubering and lifting at around noon, I'd have my hour or so of guilty pleasure before Greg came home. And so it's a whole lot different now when the whole day can roll out as what guilty pleasure do you want? So on my Netflix list, I just finished Amy Winehouse. It's very, very sad. Being a recovering, well, she was the opposite of me being a bulimic, um, but she was also an alcoholic like I am. But poor girl. Now, did she die around 27 like all of the other famous singers? What a voice when she was singing with Tony Bennett, if you watched it. And now I'm watching the Inside the Mind of Aaron Hernandez, a man that was handed everything plus 40 million to play for the Patriots and still got into trouble. So now I'm watching that. I like documentaries, especially biographic ones. And then what was the other thing? Oh, Mike, you were saying that you and Marnia are both kind of chatters and talkers, and so you can work things out by saying things. Um, Although I'm a chatter and a talker, I lived with Mr. Buttonup, and so I should have my DMD designation because sometimes I have to pull teeth to get a conversation going for sure, which is kind of funny. So, but we do stick to our space. We each have our own office, so that definitely helps a lot. And he has a workshop that he can retreat to when chatty Kathy is going on and on with her mindless banter about things. Oh, like the virus that he can't stand. So he knows how to avoid me after like 4 or 5 weeks of this. But squinting, yep, that's something that he said I do. And I had to learn that when we first began living together because he is one of those that he's gained some since we've been together, but he definitely gets away with, yeah, a lot more than I ever had the luxury of when I was getting away with stuff. And so I've had to learn how to squint at his standard American diet treats. Fortunately, we are the exact opposite when it comes to sweets, although I would qualify him as a sugar addict before carb addict. Um, his choices of sugar never have an appeal for me. There's nothing about them that like was even remotely, you know how they show those two circles and then, when they kind of intersect, there's that little oval thing where, you're both the same. I don't think we even have that. I think there's this, definite wall of like my type of sugar when I was eating a lot of it and his type of sugar that he eats now. But it's very important, while we are home and we are not trying to gain weight, no, it isn't working out extra hard that's going to keep you from that. It might eat up some of the time in the day when, you need to have it eaten up and you do feel good after you've done it. But what it might cause your body metabolically is to become even more hungry. I know that when I was doing Weight Watchers, and thank you, Eating Mastery, for being with me since my Weight Watcher days. I know that I was a clock watcher, and that's something that Ms. Slick has wanted to bring back to me while I've been quarantined, and so breaking in and trying to get me to watch the clock and make deals with myself that you can have that, and then you can have that, and usually it's another cuppa because I do the one meal a day and it's between 2 and 3. And I think that the OMAD is really one of the biggest booster benefits to Ms. Slick wanting me to watch the clock, to partake in other times of eating instead of just the OMAD and things like that. So that part has been a big, big help. I do plan my food. I've always been a food planner. I used to, do the chronometer, do the Weight Watcher points, do a lot of different things. Now I don't do it. I don't weigh and measure except for my cuppas because I could get, I could make 3 tablespoons of butter look like, yeah, that's 6 grams. Yeah, that'll work. So I have to still measure out what I put into my coffee because I'm a bartender. No. Oh, you wanted a double? Oh, that was a double. So anyway, that's where I have to be careful. But I plan out what I'm going to have. Like for tonight, we got a tenderloin roast that we smoked on the big green egg yesterday. So I will finish it in the cast iron pan with the high side so I don't have to clean the top of the stove. And I will also have a little hunka of prime rib. And I will also have 2 Pete and Jerry organic eggs gently sauteed. And so that will be my OMAD at around 2 today. Greg has a doctor's appointment at 4:30. So he has to leave the house at that point. He's working right now. But yeah, so some doctors still remain open. So anyway, this is just something that I was just bouncing back to Mike at CarnOMAD, and the little tips and tricks. He does really well with his food program. He stays in his own lane. He doesn't he eats what he eats. I think he's an OMADer. I know he's an OMADer. And he and Marnia have worked out how they eat what they do, and it all works out great. I think what he brought up about space, if you share it with another person in these times, is interesting, and how to give space. Now, I'm a card carrying codependent from way back when, being the adopted at birth, abandoned little child. So I've always, felt, withdrawal or rejection a lot more than most. And some of you may have that too, and you don't have to have the PTSD that I've got to feel that way. So it's important to have your staked out places where you can go. And, he was talking about where to put your stuff, like pantry wise, shelf wise, where does it go? And I was thinking about that, and, I brought it back closer to, I'm the chief cook here. Greg is the bottle washer. And so I plan the meals. So I've got 2 refrigerators that have the meats and his produce that we work off every day. And I was thinking that if we had to separate space so my eyes would immediately zoom in, I would try to get a shelf in the fridge as close to my eye level as possible, where all of my items would be. I think psychologically that would help me to open up the fridge. And yeah, I got a double door one. I do. Open up the fridge and see that shelf, and everything there on that shelf, my butter, my keto, what I'm having for my dinner, my eggs, that's just about it. That's it. Would be there at eye level. So I know, because another corny saying that I have besides CW, chop wood, carry water, is also, and it's important to me too, especially now, all kidding aside, be grateful for what you have and not ungrateful or ingrateful for what you don't have that you think you want, right? So I know that today I've got this wonderful beef meal with 2 scrambled eggs. I've got another cup of coffee coming to me. I have my Gerolsteiner water that I sip just a little bit in the afternoon and maybe after my OMAD. Sometimes it feels like the food gets half down. It needs a couple of slugs of water to keep it going. I don't know. Maybe that's just all that beef that I eat. More butter, more butter. So yeah, be grateful for what you can have on your food plan. And maybe even if you're, whether you're sharing space or not, but especially if you are sharing space, to have places. I don't really have much in the pantry except Redmond salt, pink salt, Celtic sea salt, no salt. Get a life, Sarah, will you? And so, but just have that designated space where, you've got your safety foods, and that's it. Of course, if you're keto, you have more options and varieties, so there'd be more on your shelf. But, oh yeah, some cheese too, the cream cheese that I do have, and the hard cheese that I have sometimes, like the Cabot's sharp cheddar I like on my burger, my messy burgers. So just be safe out there. And Mike, you always continue to crack me up. And it was just funny. And I just thought I'd send you my response with a video because it seems like I have the time. But don't you be messing with my Tom Coughlin. That's sacred territory. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye for now.